An early 80s slasher set in a summer camp? That's impossible. Hello and welcome to RotD Review of the Day, and today is Franchise Friday, where I will be taking a look at a singular movie within a franchise, starting with the first one of the series, moving on every Friday with its subsequent in the series, until it's over, and then I move on to the next franchise. And today I'm starting to tackle the Sleepaway Camp series with the original movie 1983's Sleepaway Camp. Now, I remember one of my furthest and earliest and fondest memories of horror films and being a horror fan is perusing the VHS rental aisles and looking at the box art. It was stuff that I was never really allowed to rent or see in the theaters, but the box art always fascinated me. Whenever we went there and my family was taking the time to peruse the other sections, I would zip over there and just look at the box art, both the front and the back. And I remember the iconic box art, not for this movie, but for the next in the series, Sleepaway Camp 2, of her with the backpack and Freddy's glove hanging out and the Jason's mask attached to it. I remember that, and I've noticed a resurgence in the horror communities talking about this series and this film in particular, and I had never actually gotten around to seeing it, but when I started to hear this talk and I remembered about that box art, I decided that this was one that would be worth a tackle, and so I watched it, and I was honestly delightfully surprised by this one. It thought it was actually much more rich and vibrant with the characters and the plot than I really thought would be imbued within this series. I don't know if the subsequent sequels will follow suit, but I really liked this movie in particular. And to get into more details than that, I'm going to have to get into the categories. As always, 4 different categories, each one worth up to 25 points for a total possible score of 100 points. And this follows the main character of Angela, who, when she was much younger, had a dreadful incident at a summer camp where her father was killed in a boating accident, and she was sent to live with her aunt. And there she grew up with her cousin, acting very much as kind of her older brother, guiding hand kind of thing. But she was, as a result of all this, fairly traumatized and very much keeps to herself, is very shy, not outgoing at all. Very doe-eyed and, books clung to her chest kind of personality going on there. And she gets the opportunity to go to a summer camp with her cousin Ricky when she's a bit older, and this is her first foray into the summer camp experience since the accident, where she is met by all manner of honestly pretty stereotyped, superficial characters, but that was almost the point of having superficial characters in this film. This was a summer camp slasher, and superficial is kind of the name of the game. You had a lot of bullies, you had a lot of good counselors and bad counselors, and you had the director that was, the cigar-smoking Mel. And within these characters, Angela finds herself a bit lost, and she's not really participating in the activities. And as she gets bullied, the people that bully her are being killed by an unknown, unseen assailant. And, there's honestly, one of the things I found surprising about this movie is how good of a mystery it was. And I'm not going to spoil anything about it, certainly not the ending. But the movie leaves you wondering, is it her? How could it be her? Is it the people sticking up for her? Is it somebody that is just random in camp? Does this have something to do with her past? Is it somebody from her past? All sorts of questions keep popping up, and the only thing we know is as somebody goes that extra step beyond just teasing and actually bullies her, they are subsequently killed by an unknown, unseen person. Now, this is a movie that works in service of the ending, and without getting into any spoilers, the ending is what really makes this movie. Ultimately, it was a fantastic film in its own right. I really did like this one. The plot and the characters and everything worked really well, but this is a film that when the end credits roll, the iconic ending visual imagery is just lands with a sledgehammer, and you're watching the end credits scroll, and you're, oh my God. With not what did I just watch, but how much of an impact it really had. And it was an experience as a film, not just as a horror film, but as a film in general. And I really, really liked it. 18 out of 25 for the plot there. The intent, I gave a 22 out of 25. Everything that this was setting out to do, I think it achieved very, very wonderfully. I didn't see the ending coming. I didn't see the result of the mystery coming. It surprised me, it shocked me, it bewildered me, and it intrigued me, and I really, really loved the entirety of the movie for it. The acting, I gave an 18 out of 25. Felissa Rose as Angela did a fantastic job as the doe-eyed introvert that Angela was. You really felt something for her. You really felt sympathetic and empathetic, and you just wanted to wrap her in a blanket and tell her it's all going to be okay and stop everybody else from bullying her. Jonathan Tiersten as Ricky did a great job as her cousin, who honestly acted in the interest of the audience, trying to stick up for her and, relentlessly always sticking up for her, even in the face of social abandonment himself. Karen Fields as Judy, one of the higher-up signature side ponytail princess bullies, was fantastic in this role. It was one note, but that note was played so well. Rarely have I seen snotty bullying happen so well on screen that she really did a great job, and everything about her visual aesthetic really sold it. So 18 out of 25 for the acting. I think very good, honestly. I mean, when you're talking about early 80s slashers, good acting isn't always an element of it, let's be honest, and I do think this one was. The technical, again, 18. A lot of 18s on this one. The practical effects were actually pretty darn good and pretty darn passable. I had no real complaints on this one. It did try for some really shocking visuals, and it had a lot of them. I think that they worked really well. And as far as the other elements of technical stuff, I really don't have any complaints. I'm not going to say that they were exceptional. I just don't have a lot of complaints about camera work and editing and so on and so forth. They were all very good, and they worked in service of the movie. There was nothing inherently distracting or obnoxious or anything that didn't work on that level. And that gives us a total of 76 out of 100 points. For a summer camp slasher, which is just super fun to say, apparently, this was surprisingly detailed. It was surprisingly rich, and I absolutely would recommend it. I think that there is a reason that the horror community is starting a resurgence of talking about this movie, and documentaries are starting to get made on it. It's because it deserves it. That's ultimately where I landed with this one, is it really deserved it, and it is worth a watch, and I would heartily recommend it. We will see next Friday if the sequel stands up. We have 5 movies, I believe, in this series, and that'll cover us for 5 weeks. So that should about do it. That's my review of 1983's Sleepaway Camp. I really thank you for joining me here today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. If you like these videos, please click like and subscribe. Remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.